Good morning, everybody. I toast to you. I hope you're having a fantastic day. Sunday, and yeah, it's Sunday, so I hope everybody's having a great Sunday. So, toast to you. So, as it's Sunday, I do want to take a moment just to talk about the divine and talk about connecting with the divine, and then I want to talk a little bit about tools. So, I see a funny line, I guess, drawn in the pagan community where there are some pagans who don't pray and there are some pagans who do pray. I feel like prayer is an important part of your practice, and I think that when we move away from Christianity and Catholicism and those kind of religions, that prayer is one of those things that we almost want to let go of with that kind of construct of religion. And I think that if you leave that behind, or if you don't include it into your practice, then you are missing something, and you're missing that connection. And you have to remember that prayer is just simply you communicating with the divine. Some people pray and they hear the gods speak back to them. Some people just pray to speak to the gods. For me, it's both ways. I sometimes just talk to the divine, and other times there will be an open conversation that we'll have. And if you don't ever pray and you don't open up that line of communication, then you can't have those beautiful conversations. It's just like I tell my kids, if you don't ask, you won't receive. It's the same thing with the divine. If you don't have that conversation with them, then they're not going to converse back with you. And even if you don't know who you're praying to at first, if you're just sending out your prayers into the world, an energy will answer you. And I guess I should say this in that sometimes these energies are not light and fluffy, Zeus Almighty coming down to greet you. Sometimes these are divine that are Hecate or, other dark world deities or deities of the night or deities that aren't, fluffy bunny gods. And I don't think that you should be intimidated by that. I know a lot of people, so the crone will come and protect a lot of pregnant women. And often if you have never worked with a crone before, she appears as like a dark, shadowy figure. And for a lot of women, that can be intimidating because you're pregnant, and there's this dark, shadowy figure that suddenly seems to appear in doorways and pathways and in places around your house, like corners. And you see that energy, and it can be kind of intimidating. You're like, I don't know what this is. It's a dark entity. But like we've talked about in other videos, the darkness doesn't mean evil or bad. So sometimes when you send a prayer out to the world and it's answered by a dark entity, I like using Hecate as an example because she's the one that most people are familiar with, and she's not a bad goddess. She's not an evil goddess. She's simply just a crone goddess of the underworld, this goddess of the crossroads, and you gotta let go of all of that dark is evil, because that's nonsense. So if you send out a prayer and you happen to have a darker energy come to you, don't be intimidated by it. Converse with it. I know that when the crone first came to me while I was pregnant with my first daughter, it was intimidating, and she would stand in the doorways, and I would catch her out of the corner of my eye, and I would, oh my god, what is this? And so it was an interesting energy to bond with, and after a while, and I just became more comfortable with it, I finally was like, hey, what are you doing here? Before that, I had said to it, you're not welcome here if you're not here to help me, and it never went away. So I knew that it was there to be with me, and that my spirit guides and my pets and my familiars and all of that stuff would not have allowed it to hang out if it was malice. So after I kind of moved past that thought, that fear, and I conversed with it and talked to her, it was clear it was this crone goddess. And there was also a sage god who is a dark god, and the two of them would like take turns watching over the house and me while I was pregnant. And after my third pregnancy, being pregnant for so long, I was pretty much pregnant and nursing for 6 years. It's exhausting. But so I really built a bond with these energies. They just hung out with me all the time. But through prayer, I was able to converse with them. I was able to talk to them and build that relationship. So it became really mutually beneficial. I would offer them, they would take care of me. We let go of all of the weirdness, like when you make a new friend. And, we built a good relationship. And I think that that's something that's possible for everybody as long as you open yourself to that and you open up those lines of conversation. If you don't ever pray and you don't ever sit down to just take a moment and be like, divine energy or elements or whatever you're, send it out. Right now, I need your guidance. Right now, I need your assistance. Right now, I want you to feel my gratitude. It's not always asking. Sometimes, more often I actually pray in gratitude of like, thank you for this wonderful things that I have. I pray often for other people. If I see somebody broken down on the side of the road, I will pray. I'll just take that moment and be like, energies, please help that person get their car fixed as quickly as possible, or, get to safety, or whatever it may be that it looks like they need. But it's always really general. I'm never like, fix their car right now. Because you can't, there'll be too much meddling in somebody else's. But I can say, hey, energies, these people, it looks like they need help. Can you go and see what you can do to help them? I'm not using you right now, and you're just hanging out here. Send my guides over there. Hey, maybe they need a little guidance. And then you're not getting into that weirdness of like messing with the free will and the path of other people. You're just, hey, they might need help right now. And so I make that prayer pretty much every time I drive anywhere and see somebody broken down on the side of the highway. Or somebody in need. Even when I see like homeless people on the side of the road, I just help them find what it is that they need. I always give them food. I have a problem giving them money just because I know that most of them are addicts, and that's one of the reasons that they've ended up on the street, or that's something that's become of them because they're on the street. And giving them money to feed their habit isn't necessarily the way I want to go. But I always have granola bars in the car, so I always give them a granola bar. Most of them are real grateful. And I say a little prayer for them. Even though most of them are like, God bless, I tell them, and may the gods bless you. Most of them don't even notice. But, which, by the way, people are always asking, what do you say when someone said, God bless you? And I just respond, God's bless you. And I put God in the plural. And most people don't even notice. They hear what they want to hear, and they just move forward, and that's fine. But that's just another moment where you are praying. You are making a prayer. You're advocating. And, those are moments that you need to find to connect with the divine. And so, if you haven't prayed in a while, maybe take a moment to just pray and open up that communication. And see what happens. Start doing it regularly. Use it like a journal. Even though they already know, sometimes it's helpful to say things out loud. You don't feel so crazy. Maybe it makes you feel more crazy, but I think talking to yourself is a good thing. You gotta keep that dialogue going. So, highly recommend prayer. Don't feel like you have to leave prayer back in Christianity because it's part of that construct. Prayer is just you opening that line of communication with the divine. So, so pray. If you have a specific God, pray to that God. It doesn't have to be formalized ritual. It literally, when I pray, I stand outside just like I'm sitting here now, and I pray. And it's amazing. It's good for your health. Scientists say that it also releases good endorphins in your brain, and it does all of these other things. So there's like a plethora of benefits. Oh, I just got bit by a mosquito sitting right here. Anyways. So, the other thing I wanted to talk about today was tools. And so, your tools in your magical practice. And so if you pick up a book right now by Gerald Gardner or whatever, if you picked up one of those Scott Cunningham books, just a book that had that list, it would give you the list, and it would say an Athame, a wand, a besom, a bowling, a pentagram, a chalice, a censer, two candle holders. There would be some really specifics because they would want you to set your altar up in a very specific way. So you had all of the elements and the divine and the energies all represented in this way. And that leads a lot of people to believe that you have to have your altar set up in a certain way and that you have to have those tools. So the tools are very helpful and can help you in your practice. But don't get caught up that the tools need to be there, because then you're going to limit yourself. It's important that you learn that the tools are simply there to help you focus your energy. Okay? So your finger works just as good as a wand. Your hands work just as good as a cup. You don't really have an incense burner because we're not flame retardant, but some of the tools are literally physically necessary. You need a censer in order to hold your incense, be it charcoal or maybe you have a stick incense holder. That's what a censer is. You need a candle holder if you're going to be using candles. Not everybody's using candles. Then if you're not using them, you don't need the candle holders. You'll need a lighter. There are some things that are tools that are literally tools that you need in order to accomplish your goals. Other tools, like say your chalice and your wand and your pentacle and your sword, your athame, these tools are used to direct your energy in a specific way. Athame, swords, wands, these are all very specific in pointing your energy in like a direct, focused manner, and they help you manifest that energy in this world, like, because they give you that, I don't want to say illusion, but it is like an illusion. They give you the illusion of something to focus on. And you could use your finger and you just focus your energy on your finger and you zip it, and that works too. But some people need that extra thing to help them get over that hurdle of being told your whole life that you can't do this because it's not real or because of whatever. So to move past that. And then, so your tools, that's what they're there for. They're there to help you focus. They're there to help you tap into that specific energy that's in you and then focus it. Now, like, obviously you need a cup to, like, drink out of if you're toasting. And having a ritual cup and something that's specific for that is really nice, because then that energy is there and it helps. It's just like when you get dressed up for a party, you feel better because you've gotten yourself dressed up and now you're ready to go out to this party. Oh, there's a fly on. And so you kind of change that mindset. It's the same thing with your ritual gear and your jewelry and your altar setting and the tools that you're using. If you use a bell to begin your prayer, it just helps your mind and your brain attune to that energy and helps you make that shift. But don't feel like you have to have those things. If you don't have a wand, that's fine. Get a stick if you feel like you really need something physical. If not, use your finger and don't let that hold you back. If you want to make a toast and you feel like your coffee cup isn't good enough, then find a pretty thing. Use your hands. Like, this is the most beautiful cup that you have because the gods gave these to you in order to use. I offer this to you. And as it's just one of those things that you make it what it is. And so you don't have to have the tools. Don't let that hold you back. They're there to help you focus. With that said, let's just talk briefly about a couple tools because they've got some funny names and it makes them weird, okay? So wand, obviously, it's a wand. Depending on you or what and how, everybody likes a different one. I always make my wands personally. But I do really like a good turned wand that's on a pretty wood. So it just kind of really depends on where you're at and what you like. That's a preference thing, okay? I've never used a sword in magic, but I'm just not into swords, so that's not a thing for me. Okay, so some of the ones with weird names. A besom. A besom is a magical broom. It's typically a broom that's only used in magic. That's why we give it the name besom. A lot of people make them like those olden, you see them for sale at the craft store around Samhain and stuff, but they're those old style brooms. And they'll decorate them or add herbs or do whatever and make it fancy, or they'll just have a besom. One year I went up collecting, and after we had actually ended up collecting a bunch of trash, we walked back down the path, and the trees had dropped all of their pine cone seedlings. And the specific kind of tree is one with really long needles. But so when they dropped, it was a little three tiny little pine cones with this like skirt around it. And then when they dried, after I brought them home, I picked them up. They were amazing. After I picked them up and brought them home, the pine cones fell out and they kind of sunk down, and they made perfect besoms. So we tied some string to them, or we twined a stick to them, and we made little besoms. So they were only like this big. They were small. They were cute. And they were perfect for magic. They sit on your altar nicely, whatever. So it doesn't have to be a large room or whatever. It's whatever fits your practice. Some people use what we call a fan wand. So that's going to be a wand, or a smudge wand. That's going to be a wand with feathers on it. And it can also be used to cleanse the space, but it's used to move energy. And so that's the ones that you see. They'll be made out of wings or lots of feathers. And they're used for fanning. They're used for moving that energy around and also cleansing, because it can be used like the besom. So then you have your Athame, which is your white-handled knife. Now this is actually a dull knife, and it is used as a wand to direct energy specifically. And so again, it's just a different, it's like the sword, but it's just a different wand, and it's used just like that. Your bowling is the sharp knife that typically has a black handle. A lot of times you'll see them with a curved blade if you're getting really traditional in some areas. But these are the ones that are sharp, and they're the ones that you use for collecting. They're connected with like the sickle and the harvest and that kind of, that side of it. So the Athame is the growing energy, and the bowling is the done energy, harvesting energy, that kind of thing. So let's see, your pinnacle or your pentagram obviously is the 5-pointed star. Not everybody uses one. Just kind of depends on where your practice lies and what pantheon you follow and all of that stuff. But typically you'll have some kind of symbol that connects the energies together, and that's your pinnacle. Let's see, what's another one with a funny name? Besom, Athame. Your censer, like I said, is just your incense burner. Your cauldron. These you can find all over the place. Be mindful when you're buying them that they're made out of a good material. But I mean, I've had copper cauldrons. My favorite is obviously the cast iron hardcore cauldron, because then you can use it for all of the above. I normally use my cauldron as a double for my censer, which some people will be like, no, because I'm putting air and water together. Because each one is also connected with an element. So your pinnacle is the earth, and the fire things and are the wand and the whatnot, and just like in your tarot cards or whatever. So let's see, what's another interesting tool name? I think that's all of the weird ones. The rest of them, your chalice, your cup, whatever, those are pretty obvious. So a lot of times you'll have a god or goddess on your thing. My fairy altars have fairies on them. I got a spider fairy that's amazing, and she sits on one of my altars. I've got a old man tree that sits on mine as the sage god on my kitchen altar. And it just kind of depends on what fits your practice. Yeah, see, I don't want to get into altars. That'll be another video. We'll break down some altars, because I got a lot. Several different kinds of altars. And when it comes to your altars, it's just like your tools. It's a representation of your practice and what fits with you and your space and your practice and all of that stuff. So don't let it hold you back. Like, oh, I have to have my altar. It has to be set up like this. I have to have these tools and I have to do it like this, because you don't. You have to do what works for you. And remember that your ancestors 2,000 years ago did not get caught up on having the right wand for the right job with the right stone and the right this or that. They worked with what they had, and they connected with the energies how they could, and they built those relationships. So I guess that kind of brings all of this around together. Prayer is a tool that you use to connect with the divine energies. Your tools are just that. They're tools that you use to connect with the energies of the earth and the spirits and the gods and all of that stuff. So these are all mediums, things that help you go between and focus and direct and, find success. So if you have any questions about tools or prayer or, connecting with the energies and the divine, just let me know. I'm always available for questions. You can find me on Twitter. Somewhere on my page is the links to my stuff, so you can definitely find me if you go back to the channel page. And if you haven't already, don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the little bell and do all those doodads, support each other. That's very important in this community. And I hope everybody has a blessed day and a fantastic week, and I will talk to you all soon. Don't forget to like and subscribe.